So it's really like leaning into what you're feeling.
Leaning in, but allowing it to be a bridge to get you to a positive state through that awareness and removing yourself from it and then taking action.
Okay. Hi, I'm Debra, an executive coach, consultant, and the founder of Debra. After years of leading in education, often in spaces not built for me, I now support others doing the same, especially women of color who are leading, healing, building, and figuring it out as they go. This is Debra with Debra, real talk about legacy, leadership, healing, and courage to lead without shrinking. You are all navigating so much, and you're still showing up. This space is here to remind you you are already enough. You ever meet somebody that just kind of like, they just have this light about them? And when you're around them, they just make you smile all the time. That's my next guest, Jasmine. Jasmine Brett Stringer. I met her a few years ago when she was presenting a Seize Your Life workshop. And I'll never forget a story that she shared about being laid off and how she chose to react, which was seeing it as an opportunity to reinvent herself. That just really stuck with me. Jasmine is an award-winning author, keynote speaker, TV personality, and the host of Carpe Diem with Jasmine. And we're talking to her about her new framework, REST, rest, created especially for Black women in mind. I knew that I really wanted to talk to her because we really don't need permission to slow down, but maybe we need a framework on how to do it. So join me in welcoming Jasmine to the show. Well, it is so good to see you. Feel like I haven't seen you in so many years. I was trying to remember, was it 20? No, that had to be 2019 because it was before COVID.
No, you know what? I actually spoke for you when you were at West Valley
Yeah.
in 2020. It was February of
Oh,
2020,
it was right before
right
COVID.
before the pandemic. Because I remember like we were hearing about COVID, and it was something about a cruise ship and being in California. So that was actually my last trip to West Valley.
That is crazy
Yeah.
because what you were providing was so, manifesting what could be is so like I believe in that so much, and your spirit, and just how you were with the students. The book was called "Seize Your Life," right?
Yep.
So I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you. Well, you made a very valid point. People talk about manifestation and they talk about their vision boards, and I do believe in a vision board being a great tool. But I know that everything that we do and become begins with the vision that we hold for our
Yeah.
lives. And people are often wondering, like, why am I not achieving my goals? Why is this not working out for me? What is your vision? Because that vision is the intention. And then
Mhm,
we break it down the goals, and those
mhm,
goals become the stair steps to help us reach that vision.
mhm, mhm. I was just having a conversation about that around job search, right? What's your intention? What do you really want? Sometimes we're like, we just want the salary. We have three things, but really we have this long list that we just don't talk about. And years ago, I had a friend who would say, he had this list about who he wanted to date. And I'm like, really? You have a list? Because we have to be intentional about everything that we want.
Yeah.
So,
So I'm looking to my right because I think I took it down. I didn't have a list of who I wanted to date, but I had a list of values that were important to me. And I
mm,
said, it's important that I am this person because this is the type of person that I want to attract.
I love that.
So I have to be what I want to attract. And it was values based.
Mm,
Yeah.
mhm, mhm. So before we get started, I wanted to ask you, how's your mind, body, and soul today?
So my mind, body, and soul is pretty good. I'm trying to I do, digest the news, and today I was at the television station where I do my lifestyle segment, so just trying to be very present. I have some travel coming up in the next couple weeks, and, we're hearing about the shutdown and how does that affect travel, so I am, like, literally just, like, trying to, like, "Don't get ahead of yourself, Jasmine. It is going
Mm,
to be fine," because it's so easy to get down that anxious rabbit hole, and then, like, and furthermore, you have time. You're giving yourself buffers. for these trips. So that's my mind. My spirit is great. I'm always in a spirit of gratitude. And like you said, it's so good to see you. And my body's doing great. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
How about you?
I, my spirit is very, very strong. My mind is very like centered on what's really important. Despite everything that's happening in the world, I just want to live. I was having a breakfast with somebody a couple weeks ago. She's like, I just want it all. I want happiness. I want rest, which is what we're going to talk about today. I want not to overwork myself anymore. I want joy. So
That's good.
I am so excited to talk to you about this topic, rest, your
Yes.
acronym framework, because I think for me, I've just been, for most of my career, has been go, 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 achieve, 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 achieve. Not slowing down to take it all in, to celebrate myself, to rest. And I'm in a season of like, what is most important? So I can't wait to learn more about rest, right? And what it stands for and how you created it. I know you were telling me that you were studying positive psychology and
Yep.
that
I went back to school.
so
I went back to school at the ripe age of 40 something and got my master's from the University of Pennsylvania this year. And
congratulations.
thank you.
So tell us what
Yeah. So, I went back to school with the intention of really expanding my work. Like I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I've been talking about seizing your life for, over 10 years now. I wrote the book Seize Your Life, How to Carpe Diem Every Day. I had a client that introduced me to the framework for well-being called PERMA, positive emotions, engagement, relationships, meaning, and accomplishment. And a light bulb went off, and I said, oh my goodness, that is exactly what I mean when I'm talking about see your life. It's really how do we flourish and how do we thrive? So I applied, was blessed. I got in, started the program. In my personal life, I think you knew this, my father was ill. So
Mhm,
September of 23, my father was diagnosed with a brain tumor,
mhm,
a skull-based brain tumor. So I'm an only child. My father lived in Atlanta. I'm like, you know, being a caregiver, managing 24-hour care for him. Soon after I started school, like the day after you can get your tuition back, I get a call from the doctor that we need to think about next steps for my dad. And so that began a journey. And I will say, like, 2 weeks later, he made his great transition.
nice.
So I'm just like,
Wow, I'm so sorry.
thank you. Thank you. So here I am in this program, like studying positive psychology, how we flourish and thrive. And this is like one of my hardest years emotionally. Like I was behind on school. I'm still trying to work, still trying to be a good wife and a dog mom and a friend and all of the things. And so when I was thinking about, what am I going to do for my capstone thesis in December, I said, women are overwhelmed. Black women, we are overwhelmed. And yeah, we need to rest, but like rest is different. Like it's not just, we've heard like these things, like remember Ariana Huffington was really big on sleep, but it's so much more than sleep. And when you hear rest, what does it really mean to rest?
Mhm,
And so my framework, rest for well-being, because I like to say rest is not a luxury. The R stands for recovery.
mhm.
The E stands for emotional agility, the S for support, and the T for time.
But how did it show up for you personally? Because you were going through so much, right?
So it showed up as I was like, oh my goodness, how have I been able? Because everyone's like, oh, my friends are like, oh, we admire you. You're handling this so great. Well, I
Mhm,
was like, okay, if, if I were going to use myself as a model,
mhm,
some things I did well, some things I did not do well, what was it? So R, recovery. Athletes, they do this thing called recovery. They engage in recovery.
mm,
And so I was like, well, what does it mean to allow your body to recover? Yes, it involves sleep, it involves water, it involves like taking care of your body and moving your body. Um, But what are some of the things, activities that you do to like feed that body, mind, spirit? Like you opened our conversation with. So like for me, I love gardening, something about playing in the dirt. I start my day with a gratitude practice. And so even though that's the start of my day, I always lean or turn to gratitude when I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. What are the recovery practices? You gave me 5 minutes today. And I went out, I'm going to send you a picture afterwards. I went outside and I was like arranging my pumpkins for my fall decor because I love doing that. I actually do enjoy cooking when I have the time and I'm not like under the pressure of like, I got to get something done. But when I can really just create in the kitchen, those are all activities of recovery that don't necessarily involve like sitting on the couch because I realize that I sleep. I like my Law and Order. I have a couple housewife shows that I've been done. But for the most part, I'm an active person.
Mhm. Mhm.
Recovery shows up differently when you're trying to be restored.
You are listening to the Do Better with Debra podcast with guest award-winning author Jasmine Brett Stringer. Make sure to visit dobetterexecutivecoaching.com and learn how you can lean into your power and lead with confidence, purpose, and joy. And now back to the podcast.
So then we go into emotional agility, and this leans into a woman by the name of Susan David coined this phrase. And so it's like, how do we acknowledge our emotions with awareness and we name them, but we remove ourselves from them and use them as a bridge to get to a better state. So for an example, I could say that, oh my goodness, I am so sad. I am sad. And that sadness, it starts to weigh you down. But if I say, oh, I am feeling sad, I am experiencing sadness, that's where that awareness. So the sadness is a state, an emotional state. It is not me. I am not sad. I'm experiencing, I'm feeling, I'm dealing with some sadness. So I examine, okay, well, what's the sadness? Well, last week was my dad's funeral. We're a week out. So the grief has reappeared. Okay. Okay. Well, what do you want to do about that, Jasmine? You know, Maybe I'll look at some pictures, or maybe I'll think of some funny stories. I think of some stories and I start to laugh, or maybe I'll call one of his friends, or maybe you know what? I really just want to experience this sadness and let it consume me, and I'm gonna take a bath and cry and drink a glass of wine and go to bed.
Mhm. So it's really like leaning into what you're feeling.
Leaning in, but allowing it to be a bridge to get you to a positive state through that awareness and removing yourself from it and then taking action.
Okay.
And then so we have S for support. And I like to say the support is who's on your team.
Mm.
You know, who do you have that best friend? I am so blessed. I have the best friend in the world. People want her. I'm like, I'm not even a violent person, but I'm like, no, back up, back up, back up. You cannot have her. I am so blessed that I have her. And then I have other good friends. And, people call you. And I did learn this when I was going through things. I think about how I respond to people because people call you often and they're like, well, what can I do for you? And
Yeah.
you know what? I don't know. I don't know what I need. I'm in the middle of this. So now when I offer help to people dealing with something, I present a menu of this is what I can do. I can bring a meal. I can come and sit with you. I can pray for you. Would you like some magazines? Do you want me to send you some jokes? What can I do to support you as opposed to the onus being on the person who's in the middle of a situation who really does not know? I remember I had a girlfriend who said, Jasmine, I've sent you $500 gift card on DoorDash. And I'm like, oh my goodness, the 500, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to use that. And she's like, yes, because you're not going to want to cook, or you may want lunch. You travel, you can get a meal at a hotel. This is just for you to have when you don't feel like cooking and you need to eat. The best gift ever.
That is the best gift ever. And so you didn't have to ask.
Right.
Done that.
She's been saying, like, how can I help you? And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know. What do you need? So that immediate offer was something that I did not have to think about. And so that's why I said, like, I reframe how I offer assistance with a menu. That way people can say, oh, wait a minute. Jasmine said she would, babysit my kids for me one day.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to call her. I'm going to punch that card. Call her in on that.
So tell me more about the menu.
So the menu is basically what you have. Like, how can you offer support? So, if hypothetically you have a friend that is looking for a job, oh, you are the perfect friend to have, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
you can help them prepare.
Yep.
You can help them get their mindset ready for the interview.
Uh-huh.
You can help them review and analyze. You can review their resume for them.
Uh-huh.
That's like the menu of something that you can offer your friend. Or you can say, girl, if you are grieving being laid off, let's go for a walk and you can tell me all about your feelings. So it's the menu that the person that is offering support can provide.
I love that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's like what's in your toolkit
That you can give.
yeah. Yeah.
How can you offer support?
I love that. I can do so many different things. So I love thinking about like what is in my toolkit that I can offer. I don't know about babysitting your child, but yeah, that's really smart. I love that.
And
I
then another thing about that, like you just said, there are so many things in your toolkit that you can offer, but you only have so much bandwidth. So depending on the season, in July, in August, you might not be able to offer so many things as you're dealing with limited time. But November or December, so then you get to decide how you show up. And then the other thing about support is it's about being willing to take the support from people. I have a friend who's about to have surgery, and I was like, okay, what do you need? She lives away, and I said, this is what I'm going to do for you. And she's like, girl, you don't have to do that. And I said, no, I don't have to, but I want to. And you receive it.
Why do you find it so hard to accept the help? Like it's automatic to say, no, I got it. I'm good. I don't need anything.
Well,
Right.
I would say because of my research, I know Black women, a lot of it is culturally. We've been told to be independent. We suffer from the strong woman schema. So we don't need help. Got it. We're resourceful. We're smart. We're going to pray about it. So we've been conditioned not to ask for help and not to really accept help. And then furthermore, we don't want to inconvenience anybody.
That one. That for sure.
I don't want to be a bother.
So time.
Yeah. So time is really about reclaiming your time. So there's this concept of time poverty that I was not familiar with. And it just says that we have been systematically ingrained that we don't have enough time. Our to-do list runneth over. Our responsibilities are in a state of overflow to our families, to our workplaces. So we're not giving ourselves permission to take time to practice rest. We're not taking the time because we feel like, oh, wait a minute, that's a luxury. There's something else I can do. I shouldn't just be sitting here watching TV. Oh my goodness, why am I planting these flowers? Is this really a good use of my time? And then we have people that hijack our time that love us. I remember a couple weeks ago, I woke up. I've been trying to like sleep in longer on the weekends. And I woke up to a text message from my mom about calling somebody about. And I'm like, nope, I don't have to do this. Like, and she was like, good morning, you should call. I'm like, no, why am I going to call this person? This is not on my agenda for today. This is not how I'm choosing to rest or practice recovery today. So I'm not going to make that phone call today.
So for those that will say, that sounds great, Jasmine, it sounds great. But if I don't even have the time or the energy to even start, what would you tell that person?
I would say this. There's this book, The Body Keeps Score. So if you do not get the lesson, if you do not choose to put yourself on your agenda, your body, your mind it will suffer. It may not be visible today, but you are doing damage. So you have to be proactive. And you may not be able to like start all of these things at, the whole framework of every letter at once, but you can be intentional and say, you know what? I'm going to schedule some time for recovery. I'm putting recovery on my to-do list. I've blocked this time off on my calendar. You think about support. One of the things that when I'm coaching people, I say, why don't you create a who you're going to call list? So people that you think you can call with various situations, like I need a laugh. I need a friend to hear me vent. I need a friend that can give me some advisory. Who is that person? So who you're gonna call with when you think about support? When you think about time, what's one boundary that you could put in place? I was listening to a former executive at Intuit, and she said that she, from a young age, implemented a 24-hour rule with her children, where they had to give her at least 24 hours for a request. And she said she started when they were young. So they learned, like, you can't come to me today in the carpool line and be like, oh, no, I got to bring cookies to school tomorrow. I need a cake. I need a poster done. No, you needed to communicate that 24 hours in advance. That was wild. It sounds wild, but I mean, her children learned it. She said in the beginning, it was hard because, they were, sometimes they missed assignments or they had to figure it out. But she said, you know what? It saved me a lot. That one boundary.
You are listening to the Do Better with Debra podcast with Dr. Debra Y. Griffith and her very special guest, author, keynote speaker, TV personality, and host of the Carpe Diem with Jasmine podcast, Jasmine Brett Stringer. Follow Miss Stringer on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and YouTube, or visit jasminebrettstringer.com for more information. And now, back to the podcast.
Since you've implemented this for yourself, how has it changed you?
So I'm very much practicing what I preach, but I feel that I'm less anxious than I used to be. And I don't think I don't have a diagnosis of anxiety, but like I told you, I can go down the rabbit hole. And so I catch myself before I go down those rabbit holes, which has just been a game changer. I feel like my productivity has increased because my creative juices are flowing and I'm operating in the sweet spot because I'm giving my body time to recover, to rest, giving my mind.
Who did you create this for?
I created it for Black women. Actually, I created it for myself. So, and I don't know if I sent you the full paper, but I will send it. But I call it a love letter to myself. And I know that I'm not the only one because the research proves that. And so I first created it for Black women because we have that adage, Black don't crack. And I said it does crack and people don't realize it. I used to wear strength like a badge of honor. I wore a bracelet every day that said strength. And I was like, you know what? I've got to reframe that. Not that I'm not strong. And I mean, people come up to me and they're always like, you're so strong. And I'm like, you know what? I'm strong and I'm so much more. I'm strong and I'm delicate. I'm strong and I need care. So that's what it was created for.
I love that. I love that. What's the feedback been? Because I know that you have shared this with many women.
Well, actually, I just started sharing. So what is this? I shared it for the first time on television 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
This is my first podcast interview.
Great.
I'm developing some new content and really just trying to get it out there. But I'm just starting to share it. So I can't wait to hear your feedback.
I think it's brilliant. My favorite, I think, is emotional agility piece, the reframing. When I think about you losing your dad, it takes me back to when I lost my mom. And people would be like, how are you feeling? I'm like, I'm grieving. And that would be not just a week after, it was a month after, it was 2 months after. I wasn't holding the thought of not telling people exactly what I was feeling. And I would just let myself sob.
Right.
And sob. But then I would be thinking about her and some of the crazy things he would say. Like when when she would like get something that, and she would say this, tickle her, like she would just laugh and laugh, laugh and laugh, right? And I would just remember like how like laughing with like just so much tears in her eyes because she was laughing so hard, and then that would bring me joy as well,
Right.
right?
See? So
Or
you use that sadness and you as a bridge to get you
yeah,
to joy.
yeah,
Or you just sat there with your tears. It became comfort.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. So I'm not just focusing on like pain of it, but also the joy that I was able to have in those moments.
Right.
Oh, I really love like the framing of the emotional agility, and even like what you said about recovery. Recovery often sounds like I'm just going to sleep all day. When I think about my own recovery, I recover intentionally every week from the week. Like every Sunday, I'm doing something. Either I'm getting a facial, or I'm getting a massage, or I'm getting my hair done, or whatever. Like there's always something to reset my week. So I love this like intentionality that you are just launching. What are some small things that people can do every single day?
One, I believe that everybody needs a gratitude practice. I start my day, I look in the mirror, I say my gratitude five, I actually capture, but I look in the mirror and I'm like, hey girl, I give myself a high five and I do 5 things that I'm thankful for.
Mm.
So everyone needs a gratitude practice. I think people need to be intentional about the boundaries, about, like you said, you take that time on Sunday that you know that you're going to have, hashtag self-care appointment or something for you. So how can you be intentional about scheduling the recovery time? Because I live in a world where things are scheduled. And maybe, if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't live by my calendar, that's great. You can just be mindful of it. But I live in a world where it needs to be on a calendar
Mhm.
to get done. But last week, I took a half day because I had some gift cards that friends had given me. And I went to the spa on a Monday. I took the day off, half day.
Monday.
On a
Okay.
Monday, yes. I was there from 3:30 until 9 o'clock. It was amazing. And I said, I'm going to implement this as a quarterly recovery. So I already scheduled my appointment for January.
I love that.
And so it's like, even if it's not something that you're doing weekly, how can you make it a ritual? Is it a weekly? Is it a daily? Is it a monthly?
Mhm.
Is it a quarterly practice?
Mm. Mm.
When we think about support, one of the things that I've been really trying to do the last couple of years is like send people cards. So I love cards. I love
Mhm.
connections. So, whether it's a thinking of you, a congratulations card, unfortunately, a sympathy card, I'm being very intentional about my touch points of how I'm showing support for me through a card. That's an action that I'm doing. So what can you do? What's one step that you can take to show support?
Mhm. Mhm. I too like cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure I'll have your address. Make sure I
Like
have your
the
address.
old school, like writing in and not just sending an email.
Yeah.
I text a bunch of people in the morning to say, "How are you? Have a great morning." Right? It just makes me feel good.
Right.
When I bake, I might bake some people some cookies and give it to them, and they have joy out of that. I love being able to see people's like joy.
Right.
So, question for you: for those that are in leadership, how do they like teach this to the people that they are leading? Because modeling is so important, right?
Right.
You said you made this for Black women. So I'm just thinking about Black leaders and women in leadership. How do they like teach this?
One, they model it. It's
Yeah.
important. But two, not only when you model it, because sometimes we think we're modeling something and the lesson is missed. So you speak about it. So you say, and maybe you don't speak on it right then and say, oh, this is a part of my recovery, but you could speak on it. You start using the language. One of the things that I think is a great way to start meetings or engagements with people is asking people, how do they feel? Even in my work as a professional speaker, I started doing a Mentimeter of how people are feeling. And I tell people, it's a safe space. How are you feeling? What are you feeling?
Yeah. Connection.
Right.
Because usually we just start with the agenda and move in.
Right.
Yeah. What's your hope for women as they start to embrace? this framework?
My hope is, and my desire and my intention for this is that women will start to have a higher level or better level of well-being, that we can flourish and thrive. It's oftentimes that we don't realize we've had a problem until something has happened, and then we have what I call this rear view mirror experience. And we think, oh my goodness, I thought I was doing great, but I really wasn't. And I was ignoring the sign. I was ignoring the sign. So one of the best ways, that people can really start to practice this framework is just think about the process: recovery, emotional agility, support, and time, and use that as a body scan. Like, okay, what do I need to do for recovery? How am I feeling? How are my people? Have I checked in on people? Do I need to phone a friend? Where am I feeling on the support? Am I giving support, or do I need to receive support? Because support, it's a two-way street. And then time, what boundaries do I need to implement where I can have some control and reclaim my time?
Mm. Thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. Thank you for helping me get this out in the world. I'm going to be presenting it at the American Public Health Annual Conference. I'm doing a poster presentation. So yeah.
It's needed. It's needed.
Well, if any of your listeners need a speaker and want to hear more, please look me up.
Awesome. So I have two final questions for you.
Yes.
What does do better look like for you in the season of your life?
Ooh, I love that. I'm going to say that do better looks like not actually doing, but just being.
Love that. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you could leave women of color leaders listening today with one reminder, what would it be?
My reminder would be is that you have to, when they say it on the airplane, it's so true. We have to put the oxygen mask on ourselves first. You cannot give from an empty vessel. And even if you have a drop, we are not Jesus. It will not grow. So we've got to be intentional about refilling ourselves, about taking care of ourselves. We only have this one body, this one mind, this one spirit, and you got to prioritize it. And you deserve to prioritize it.
I love you. Thank you so much for being
I love you so much. I'm so glad.
It's so infectious. So thank you so much for spending time with me today.
Thank you.
Jasmine, thank you so much for sharing your story and the rest framework you created during such a balanced season in your life. It's a powerful reminder that even in loss, we can choose to rest. To everyone listening, take a moment this week to pause, breathe, and give yourself permission to slow down. Until next time, let's continue to do better for ourselves and for others.
You've been listening to award-winning author of Seize Your Life, How to Carpe Diem Every Day, Jasmine Brett Stringer. Find this title on Amazon or where most books are sold. If you enjoyed this episode, follow the show, leave a rating or review, and share with a friend or colleague. You can always find Do Better with Debra on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and coming soon to YouTube. Thanks for listening.